Okay, we have Mekhi Wingo from LSU, and he wants to say some words first.
I just want to say how you all doing. That's good. How you all doing?
Okay, we'd like to open up for questions. Where would we like to start? Okay, right here in the front, first row.
Mekhi, Clint Schweitzer, Starcade Media in Missouri, where you used to play.
Yes, sir.
St. Louis, right? So
Yes, sir.
you've been at LSU now. You transferred from Missouri. Just kind of what went into that decision for you? And now that you've been on hand and made an impact and looking at another big season, and you play the Tigers next year. So what's the transition been like from Missouri to LSU for you?
Transition has been smooth, and the guys back in Missouri, we still had that love and bond. I just ran into them upstairs. It was all love, man. So I really enjoyed seeing them. But, I'm happy to be at LSU. The transition has been smooth, and, I'm loving Baton Rouge. Can't complain.
Second row on the left.
Chris Farble in KSOU 81 FM. As you mentioned, you will be coming back to Mizzou this fall to play the Tigers for the first time as a member of LSU. I just want to ask, does that game being against your former team and right where you grew up, does that game have any extra meaning to you this fall?
Definitely, I love to come back and play in front of my home crowd, just giving those family members the opportunity to come to a game that, they may not be able to make it down to in Baton Rouge. So I'm definitely going to need a lot of tickets for that game. And it's going to be fun seeing my old teammates and old coaches because I still have that bond and connection with those guys.
Front row here on the right.
Hi, AP Stedham, AP and Kelly, as we see at syndicated radio. Mekhi, what does this team have to do to get better defensively? A couple areas for you.
To get better defensively, the team, we just have to really focus in on those small details and come together and watch a little more film together and do things of that nature. Naturally, we've gotten better getting guys in that transfer. We had some great players leave, but, I have full faith in the guys that we've brought into the program. A guy like Jordan Jefferson and Paris Shan and Omar Spates. Those guys have come in, put the work in, and I think they'll be phenomenal for us this year.
Second row on the left.
Billy Jones, KCOU 88.1 FM, Columbia. I was going to ask, along those lines, you lose the two bookends on your defensive line. I was curious how you think those freshmen that you brought in, obviously Womack and Jackson Howard, and then, of course, the transfers, how you think defensive ends are coming along and how good you think this defensive line can be next year?
I think the defensive line can be, really good. Getting a guy like Mason Smith back, a guy that can wreck a game, and Savion Jones, this is his year to step up and, really put his impact on the LSU program. And Deshaun Womack and Jackson Howard, they've come in and been putting the work in. Those guys are working really hard. They're taking the coaching, and they're going to be really good for us this year.
On the right, front row.
Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. Last year you played both Alabama and Georgia. Was there a distinction between the two teams? And do you feel that Georgia has surpassed Alabama in terms of being the pinnacle of college football?
I wouldn't say there was a distinction between the two teams. There was two great offensive lines, two great quarterbacks, and two great coaches on both. Georgia, obviously the defending national champs, so, they have the trophy right now. But both programs are phenomenal, and we'll be looking forward to playing them this year.
Left side, front row.
When you make the transition from Missouri to LSU, a lot of people talk about the food being one of the big differences. Are you a gumbo guy? Do you have a place in Baton Rouge that you prefer? What's the food been like for you?
The food has been phenomenal. This is definitely a place that I haven't had a problem keeping my weight on. So, at first I didn't really vibe with the crawfish, but, I grew into it and, it's really good now. I'm not too much of a gumbo person, but a few spots, I like to eat, a spot called Raoul's. There's a spot called Gino's. They got some really good food down in Baton Rouge.
We'll go on the left side, third row.
Tyler Shaw with KBTX TV and College Station. Last year the team kind of ended the regular season on a sour note with that loss to A&M. So how much are you looking forward to playing them this year and kind of maybe, riding that ship?
I'm looking forward to playing every game this year, but, we're keeping all our focus on week one, which is Florida State right now, because, if we want to get to that end goal, which is winning a national championship, we're going to have to take it week by week. So we have to keep all our focus on week one right now.
What's the excitement level around Baton Rouge, and how might it differ from last year?
You know, it's going to be very exciting this year. Just, you know, we have some of the best fans in the country. You know, they're going to come out, support, and we get some great players back. So it's going to be a phenomenal feeling in Baton Rouge.
Left side, front row.
Noah Groninger, Starcade Media. Just being at LSU down there in Baton Rouge, what sets that apart in the SEC? You know, a Saturday night in Death Valley, there's nothing like it.
When you walk out the tunnel and there's 100,000 fans screaming, you know, that's a different atmosphere that, you know, a lot of stadiums don't necessarily get to experience week in, week out. And there's just an expectation and an aura when you're an LSU football player, you're stepping on that field, that you got to give it all you got week in, week out.
Right side, front row.
AP Stedham, AP and Kelly, as we see it, syndicated radio. Mekhi, what do you think the difference will be with Harold moving inside, Harold Perkins?
Harold Perkins is a great player, and he's going to be able to wreck a game no matter where he lines up on the field. He's great off the edge, but I've also watched him throughout the spring get better and better at playing more in the box. So I think he's going to be very effective for us no matter what spot he ends up playing in.
Second row, left side.
Chris Farble in KCOU 81 FM Columbia. And as you mentioned, Harold Perkins had a great freshman year last year, one of the best freshmen in all of America. I want to ask you, was there a moment, whether it was in a game or in practice, where you saw him and you realized that even with all the great athletes you have there, that he's really a special, just one-of-a-kind player?
Yes, it was actually the practice before the Mississippi State game, the game where he really exploded onto the scene. We were doing some pass rush drills, and he came down with the defensive line that day, and just, like, he lined up, and we had never seen nobody on the defensive line just come around the corner and bend like that. And when it happened, we were all surprised, but little did we know he had it the whole time, and he showed it that week.
Go on the third row, left side.
Just around campus, having women's basketball and baseball and the national championship you guys have brought this year. I mean, how exciting is that as a student athlete? And then, obviously you guys want to finish this year like that as well, football.
It's been very exciting with the other teams winning national championships, the women's basketball and the baseball. A guy like me, I'm not even a baseball fan, but I was tuned in to every single LSU baseball game, And we definitely want to experience and get that feeling that those guys are getting on campus and really bring more hype to LSU's campus.
Okay, we'll stay on the left side.
And then how close do you realistically feel like you guys are? I mean, do you feel like that year one and Brian Kelly really kind of laid a national championship trajectory for this squad?
Definitely. The standard we talk about week in, week out is to win a national championship. That is the standard. But everyone has to understand that, it's not just going to take guys ranking us here or us believing in the hype. We're going to have to take it week by week, practice by practice, and truly put in the work to become a national championship team.
We have time for one final question, right here in the front.
Thank you very much for your time again. I have to keep my questions Bama related, so here comes another Alabama question.
Yes, sir.
You guys were able to beat Alabama last year in overtime. What do you remember about the emotions following that overtime victory?
It was very exciting, to see the crowd rush the field. They had done it the previous week before, but it was nothing like that game. And just to see the excitement, on our quarterback's face and just on the team and the coach's face to get that win. It was a great bonding moment for us, and we're hoping to build on it this year.
Mekhi, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate you all.